Hello and welcome back to another episode of the iSmack MMA podcast. As always, I'm joined by Alex Eisman. We'll get to him here in just a second, but before we jump into any of the news, recaps, predictions for this weekend's fights, make sure YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, follow us, subscribe to us, comment, share it, do whatever you can to help us out. It means a ton. Now, Alex, right before we started recording, turn the hat around to make sure the W was proudly being shown because that's exactly what I got this weekend. How are you doing?
Not great. Not great, Bob. But yeah, my heart is still broken from that fight because I mean it's Volk.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
it
and
and
the
you understand that. Like it was a huge win for you and like hats off. That was a great call. But
the
yeah,
W's,
seeing Volk lose like that twice in a row, just yeah, not it.
yeah, and like I was saying, the W's do not. They're in prediction and who I took in my rising stars only. It did not make me happy to see Volk get folded like a lawn chair. Like that was not a satisfying thing to watch. It was just satisfying that my pick hit. And that I got that instant gratification from it. But we'll get into all that. There is a little bit of good to come from the weekend, I guess, starting with we now know what the UFC 300 headliner is. Alex Pereira versus Jamahal Hill. We talked a little bit about this off cam, but I want to hear your thoughts at least on how this fight was made.
Yeah, so I remember last week you're talking we were talking about some of the hypothetical 300 main events and you mentioned I think it was Leon Bilal as a fight for the MMA hardcores
Yes.
and I think that's what this is. I think if you've been watching long enough, you understand that Jamahal Hill is incredibly dangerous. Obviously, we haven't seen him for a long time because he tore his Achilles, but he's going out. This is the fight that should happen. It should have been whenever Jamal chose to come back, he should immediately be fighting for the title. And it just so happens that it's Alex Pereira who's holding it right now. I would have said the same if Yuri beat Alex. I would have said the same if it was someone else, if it was Jan even. Like it should have been Jamal Hill fighting for the belt as soon as he's able. And I love this. I mean, this is Alex Pereira is always fun. Jamal Hill, I think people still don't appreciate how good he actually is because he sometimes runs his mouth a little bit and like makes himself look like an asshole. But
Yeah.
like he is really good. He is really, really good. So I'm super excited for this.
Yeah. Oh, and so obviously my thoughts were not as glowing, not because I don't love the fight. If this fight was booked at 299 or 301, I'd be eating it up. I don't think Jamal Hill is a 300 headliner. Like it's going to be a great fight. You've got plenty of casual names to sell this card. I think the number next to it will sell it just fine, anyways. But you've got plenty of those guys, and I get that you want to give the right guys the belt fights, but this is not the big ticket fight that you'd think they'd want for 300. And it's in large part because of what they did to 299, because it runs close in proximity to Fury versus or not Fury, it's Ngannou and who's he
Uh
fighting next? Joshua?
he's fighting isn't he fighting uh Anthony Joshua?
Yeah, I think so. But I think that's the same weekend as 200 or 299. I'm pretty sure. And they stacked that card up like crazy
Yeah. They're
to
trying to compete
offset
with
some of
it.
that. Right.
It
And
is Joshua?
I actually stopped looking.
Oh.
Yeah, Anthony Joshua. So, they stacked that card up because Dana hates Francis because he made him kind of look like a bitch. And so he's like, you know what? I'm gonna put all this talent on 299, and I get that, but you if you're booking cards out of spite, you're probably not doing it correctly. You need to be booking it in biologic sense. You probably could have shifted, which I don't know if Jamal would be ready for 299, but if you could have shifted that to 299 or 301 and moved one of the 299 fights into the main event of 300, that would have made more logical sense to me. But all the credit in the world for them at least getting the next light heavy challenger right, because it was Jamal and it should have been Jamal, especially with him being close enough to 2 months' time being good to fight.
Yeah, and I think at this point though, we already knew that 300 wasn't going to be the big ticket main event that we were hoping for. You
Yeah.
know,
I
like
think Izzy Alex 4, whatever it is, was our best chance.
that was the best option, and that would have been great. But I think, like John Jones still out of commission. Honestly, I'm shocked that Jamal is fighting this early, to be honest, because he
Yeah.
got hurt in July. Like
Yeah, it wasn't long.
that's still a pretty quick turnaround. But props to him for being able to take it. I think, yeah, I just think we've known for several weeks now that this wasn't going to be like a McGregor or a John Jones or clearly a Volkanovski. I think it would have been nice if this fight that we had this weekend was a 300 headliner possibly, but
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, we knew we weren't getting one of the biggest, most well-known fighters to headline 300. But in terms of damage control and still giving like one of the better main events I think we'll see this year, I'm here for it, and it just adds to a card where, I mean, we are going to predict every single fight on this
Yeah.
300 card. It is
Yeah.
going to be, I I don't care what anyone else says. I am so excited
That'll
for
be
three.
one of those episodes that we'll have to do before you go in to work. Because, like, obviously, if you guys are watching the video, you could see he's not at his home. That'll be one of the things that whenever 300 rolls around, that'll be like a 11 a.m. call time because it's going to take 2 hours to get done.
Yeah, it'll be a while.
And the point, and we can move on after this, but if you can't get a name that'll sell out the venue, get a fight that people will want to rewatch and go back into and think about, and that's what they got out of this. I might not be stoked that it's Jamahal Hill. I as goofy as it might sound, I would put Suga and Cheeto at the main event of 300 before I'd put Alex and Jamal. But just because Sean sells the way he sells, man. Like you can't argue against that. Sean O'Malley being the main event of that card as already the guy that they want to push to begin with. It might not make sense, but it makes a whole lot of dollars.
That card
And
will be sweet.
right.
299 is going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's a
I still think 300 will be better though. I'm not going to lie.
significantly. But because it's 15 fights of
Yeah,
dudes that everybody
exactly.
knows and
And
wants
that's
to see.
and that's why you could afford to not have, one
Yeah.
of those big guys. Like you got Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway. You got Charles Oliveira.
I'd argue you should put Gaethje and
Like
Max as the main.
you got Cody Garbrandt and Figgy.
We don't need to talk about
I
that.
know, I didn't mean it to like piss
I
you
know.
off, but like
But yeah, Charles
the
Arman,
names.
Yuri Rakic, Cater
Oh my God, I
Aljo,
forgot about that too. Yeah.
Bo, Cody Brundage, Home versus Kayla.
Yeah.
Like these are fights we're forgetting about. Marina versus Andrade, Bobby versus Jim Miller, which I know that's not selling at any venues, but that's a milestone moment for the company because those
Yes.
are, I mean, that's a lot of history in the ring. So yeah, you don't need Connor for this card, but it would be the cherry on top to where you could really look back and say this competed with 100 and 200 as far as key figures of the sport being there.
Yeah, and it sounds like they're still trying to put one more on from what I understand. So hopefully, I mean, we should be getting news of that soon. We're like 2 months away. So, um, but yeah, it's gonna be like my schedule is going to be so clear on what is it, April 20th, April 19th.
Yeah, no time for
So
plans.
clear.
No time for plans.
Like
Oh, did you
I
see that Leon's rumored offers got leaked?
yes,
And he accepted
yes.
all three, but you know the catch there.
It's because it's Ramadan.
Right. They offered him Shavkat, Islam, and Hamzat. He said yes to all three, and it's peak Ramadan season that fight would have been. So it's like, yeah, of course they're not going to be fighting.
Yeah.
It's just
But
funny little whatever.
at least, hey, we talk about the rising stars. Shavkat got an offer.
He'll be next. He'll be the next guy on our list, I think, because
It
they
would be
keep,
so funny if Bilal didn't get it.
but they're
It
playing
would
so
be
hard with
so funny.
Blanchfield and Shavkat's next as far as like our rising stars as to who actually could be within champ reach. And I think as soon as Shavkat gets that opportunity, he's taking that belt and he's not letting go of it. So
100%. Shavkat's close. I still think Suarez is close too.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
We got it,
no,
dude. We did
actually,
really well on that draft.
yeah, yeah. Well, a big one for me coming up on 299 is Jailton's fighting Curtis Blades.
Yeah.
That'll be a big one for sure.
To determine who the actual best grappler in the division is.
Yeah. So
Um, but speaking of very great grapplers, at least once upon a time, after this weekend, it did not look great. But Henry Cejudo, after losing to Merab Dvalishvili, retires. They didn't even have time to give him the microphone because Merab talked so long. And I like Merab a lot. If you're in that same boat as me, that wasn't great. I didn't
no,
like that move.
it was a bad look, but I also kind of get it because he already retired once. And
Yeah,
like now you look back on what Henry Cejudo has like accomplished. Like imagine if he never retired that first time because it wasn't for clearly it wasn't for a lack of performance.
it
Like the
was a
dude
money
was a
issue,
double
wasn't it?
champ. He was trying to get paid more, and as much as we've uh as much as we've lamented the fighter pay, there's still better ways to go about negotiating than quitting entirely. Look at what Paulo Costa did.
Yeah.
You think Henry Cejudo wouldn't have been able to like get more by doing what Paulo did? Like the
Oh yeah.
guy holds two belts,
Well,
like
yeah.
one of the greatest mixed martial artists ever.
He was just bad at making himself marketable. And Dana called his bluff. Dana's the king of calling bluffs. I don't know why anybody in their right mind would do a retirement thing in seeking more money, unless you're GSP, Conor McGregor, or John Jones. Like those are, I guess, Habib. If Habib was just dying for an extra buck, if you're not one of those four guys, good luck, because Dana's gonna say, okay, that's less money that I have to pay you and less money that I have to pay the guy that's going to replace you because he hasn't built that credibility yet, but I know he's really good. It's a
Yeah,
dumb, horrible philosophy. Cejudo was on the experiencing end of that. And yeah, then he comes back out of retirement, goes over two, and now he's gone again.
yeah, and it's a shame because if he did stay, like we could very well be talking about him as one of the greatest, like
Yeah.
on like the Mount Rushmore. Like he's already one of the greatest, but like that's so subjective. Like, and there's so many people that you can include in that conversation. But you talk about the best of the best, like the John Jones, the GSPs, the Demetrius Johnsons, the Khabibs. Like the Anderson Silvas, I could keep going with that, but like those, like there's clearly levels, and Henry Cejudo is an all-time great, but if he never retired and continued to, I don't know if he would have kept defending at flyweight, but if he continued to defend at bantamweight, like we could be talking about him as in the same breath as those guys that I just mentioned before.
Well, and he was never going to touch Mighty Mouse as far as flyweight GOAT status. I
But he
think
beat
that
Mighty Mouse.
I know, but Mighty Mouse also had all those reigns. That was at the end of his, stretch. Like, I don't think he was ever going to fully cement himself in there because it was just opposite points in their career. But he absolutely could be bantamweight GOAT right now. Because I think the people that are arguing for Aljo, how many more defenses is that if he stayed there and Aljo never got his hands on the belt? Two,
Yeah,
three? Like, I mean, he's mopping the floor with those guys. He'd absolutely be the GOAT right now, but instead, he has to go out sad to Aljo's buddy. I mean, literally getting carried across the cage so Merab can go talk to Mark Zuckerberg while he holds him down. That's the last images of Henry Cejudo that we get in the UFC. And
yeah.
that's because of his retirement.
Yeah, it doesn't do him justice as an athlete, but at the same time, he did it to himself, so it
He did.
sucks.
Yeah,
It sucks.
he absolutely did. But with that said, very good career for Cejudo. Hope he enjoys retirement.
Yep, salute.
Yes.
Still, yeah, still one of the greats, one of the
Yes.
greats for sure.
Absolutely. And there's no debating that.
Hmm.
And then this last piece of news we've got, we didn't do predictions for this one because to be honest, kind of forgot about it until last second, but we are going to make sure to bring you the results of all the big fights from Bellator versus PFL this Friday. Bunch of their champions, and I'll go ahead and rattle off some of these fights. We've got Renan Ferreira, Ryan versus Ryan Bader. I'm not going to be able to get Impa Kasanagane.
He's the dude that He's the dude that Joaquin Buckley knocked out with that spinning
Oh, yeah.
heel. You
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah, TKO of the year 22. Of course I
And
remember.
as soon as that happened, this dude took off and is now champ. And yeah,
Well,
so
he
props to
got
him.
he got spin kicked to wherever, but now at least he's making some success out of it.
Yeah.
He'll be going up against Johnny Eblin. Ray Cooper the third versus Jason Jackson. Vadim Nemkov's on this card. Thiago Santos versus Yoel Romero. Clay Collard versus AJ McGee. Clarissa Shields is on this card versus Kelsey DeSantis. I mean, it's a very good card, is
It
what we're
is.
getting at. So if you have the time, make sure to seek that out. It is this Friday. And if you can't catch it, we'll bring you the important results. Now, Alex, and new,
I know.
and new. We touched on it briefly at the top of the show, but the Ilia era has started. And unlike, for example, Sean O'Malley, another recent champ that had been kind of skyrocketed and a lot of his steam had built up fairly recently. I think Ilya has some real staying power, and I don't see a man besides Volk that can get in that cage in there and take that belt from him.
Yeah, he's going to be around for a while. And at this point, if they do an immediate rematch, I will pick Ilya because we've seen the 35 and older stats. I think it's like
It's 2 and 28.
170 and lighter. They're like 1 and
Yes,
23 now.
it's
Um,
2 and 28 because T Wood is 2-0
oh
in those,
yeah,
or no,
okay.
2-1 in those fights.
But yeah, and with this, I think about um it was Habib talking about this. He was like, no fighter has two peaks. You have one
Mhm.
peak and then it's all downhill. And after that, it's clear that Volkanovski's peak is over. Like
Yes,
like Habib said, it's not going to come back again. He's one of I think it's impressive how much Alex Volkanovski has like captured the hearts of MMA fans because like he was not like when he was beating Max initially, people did not like him
people
because
hated him.
Max was so loved.
Right.
People hated him. But
My
um
friends made fun of me for picking Volk in their first fight.
yeah, like
Like, yeah,
Volk's attitude, his fighting style, everything about him, he's just won over the MMA community. Um, and I mean, it's awesome. It's so
yes,
cool. And everyone and their mother was rooting for him on Saturday. I know you picked him, but like you said,
yeah.
you've
I
been
I
happy
was
for
not
Volk.
I was not going to be upset with whatever result came
Yeah,
out.
yeah. So, like, I'd like to see him ride off into the sunset after this. He
He's
he's made his case to be the greatest featherweight of all time. I personally think he is. I know Jose Aldo is still exists, and if anyone told me that they think Aldo is, more power to you. I'm not gonna. That's one that I'm not gonna fight you on. But
right.
yeah, I think it's in his best interest to just retire. To be honest,
Now, did you see his statement?
uh, no,
So he said that he wants the immediate rematch. He wants to do it in Spain at the end of this year, and he would not fight until then. He said that he wants to take some time to rest, to spend with his loved ones, to kind of figure himself out. Something that we had talked about last week. And that is the best results that came from this weekend because he's willing to say, you know what, I need some time away to kind of try to fix my mentals and that aspect of if he gets 9 months out of the octagon, nine or and seven of those is to be with family and to really reconnect with how to be happy, because it did not seem like he'd been happy in a while. So as long as that period is fruitful for him and he can manage to do that, that is the most positive possible outcome from this entire card, and I'm happy that he's at least willing to do that.
yeah, and if he wants to fight, if he wants to do an immediate rematch, he's gonna get it
Yeah,
because of what he's done at that weight class. And so I his best chance to recapture the belt is, like you said, to take, several months off, kind of process what the last two fights have been like for him because it's two knockouts in the span of like what? When did he fight Islam? October?
Yeah.
Two brutal knockout losses within the span of 5 months. Like that guy needs time. But again, he's only getting older, man. Like I think I think if he wants to fight and have one last crack at the title, fine. You know what? You've earned it. You deserve it. But after that, just retire and don't have like a Anderson Silva, Tony Ferguson kind of end to your career
Yeah.
where people forget how great you were, you know?
Right. Don't just move up a couple pounds and toil away, in the middle of like that's lightweight, right? You know how bad I am with names.
Oh,
It's
Volk is featherweight.
no Islam.
Islam's lightweight. Yeah.
Yes, I'm saying go up weight because he keeps talking about maybe moving to lightweight and earning his way up to a title shot. Don't go do that. If you can't get it again on the belt, just go be with family, be a coach, do something. But yeah, he does not need to keep eating those punches.
Yeah. Enough about Volk though. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Ilia for a little bit
Yes.
because like we've said, like this guy, there's no one currently signed to the UFC at featherweight that can beat him right now.
Yeah, I saw people talking about uh Mavsar. Is it Mavsar that I'm thinking of?
Oh, Yevlaev, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where they were like, "Oh, that's the next." And I was like, "No, it's not, dude. No, it's not."
I would give Ilya definitely gets it inside 3 rounds against that guy.
If Ilya didn't come into that fight minus 300, I'd be upset. I'd be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you're getting a steal on the odds." It's less than
Hopefully, honestly, I hope Ilya is like in the minus 150 range so I can like actually make a couple bucks off of him winning. But
Well, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and you don't just get normal lines for Ilya by finish. It's not just minus like
yeah,
110 for Ilya by finish.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, dude, the kid is just so nasty. That combo up against the cage. Imagine if that left landed too, dude. I mean, he might have like, um, oh God, dude, what's wrong with me today? Sage Northcutt, there we go. He might have Sage Northcutt at him,
Oh yeah.
like shattered a bunch of bones in his head if that left would have connected to.
Yeah, clean. Because it just grazed like the front of his face. Yeah.
But it just got him like right there. If
Yeah.
if Volk wouldn't have went out from that first punch and was still right there, he might have actually punched him out of the cage. Like it would have looked like Happy Wheels.
It would have
You know what
been
I'm
like
saying?
a Bryce Mitchell Caesar, bro. Like
Yeah.
that. It would have been like that.
And it was already fairly close.
Yeah. Because
Just
he
off
was
that first
out
punch.
for a minute.
Yeah. And whenever they cut the cameras back over to him, he was kind of still doubled over on the ground. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't pretty. But yeah, man. I mean, Ilia Topuria, it's funny because I think the first fight of his I watched was him against Ryan Hall. And obviously, when you watch anybody fight Ryan Hall, it does not scream champion status. But even in his approach to deal with the Uranagi rolls and the garbage that Ryan Hall throws, um, you could tell that there was a lot of calm to him. There was a lot of skill to him, and there was a lot of ability to just keep on building to what he's already got. And he has successfully put it all together. All the credit in the world to him. And I pray that his first defense, even if it's not Volk, is 306 or whatever in Madrid because God, could you imagine that?
That would be so sick. And like, it's crazy how Spain has rallied around him too.
Well, because
Like,
it's weird. They don't have enough of MMA guys.
yeah,
Usually it's the South Americans and or the Russians or whatever, or England even to this point. Spain doesn't really get a whole lot of them. So to have someone as high profile as Ilya is huge for them.
yeah. Well, it's also even cooler because Spain isn't his native country. Like Ilia is a Georgian who,
Yeah.
fled to Spain. And like you see that with a lot of athletes, not just in MMA, but around the world. And like these adopted countries like won't accept them as one of their own. And
Hmm.
so it's so cool to see Spain just, be that for Ilia and support him the way that they have. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think most people, like even, semi hardcore, semi casual, whatever you want to define it as fans, I think a lot of them will just assume that he is Spanish because of, what that community has done around him and like you said, just supporting him. So it's really, really cool, like you said, to see. And I cannot wait to see where the rest of this title reign goes.
Yeah. Like I can't off the top of my head, like there's no one besides Volk right now at featherweight that I even think would challenge him.
I
I
think
think
Max would
maybe
give him a good run.
Max probably would. I would think possibly Aljo.
Yeah.
I think Aljo fighting Ilia might be entertaining. Um,
Until the second round and he gets his jaw literally
yeah,
hit off of his body.
yeah. But like it's hard to like come up with people that you could definitively think would actually like give him some problems, you
The
know?
biggest threat to Ilya's reign, as far as I see it, is if Merab gets trigger happy to go two belt.
Yes.
That is the
But they would
biggest
never
concern.
fight each other.
Oh, would they not?
They would never fight Georgians. They're
Yeah,
like
but
they're best friends too.
yeah, but I see. I feel like, well,
You didn't
no,
see all
because
the
it
stuff with Ilia and Merab this whole week?
no,
Oh, dude, they're never fighting each other.
damn.
It's like Izzy and Kamaru, kind of.
Okay, I was about to say
Yeah.
because like I was gonna say, well, if it's for two belt status, but Merab wouldn't even fight Aljo for one belt
Yeah.
status, so it's like he's
They
pretty
won't
loyal
fight
to the
each other.
soil. So Ilya's probably praying for Merab to get that belt soon because I'm sure he doesn't want to fight Suga either.
Ah, he'll beat Sugar.
He would, but that range is such a problem, dude. Like, I mean,
He's
he's
dealt with it
still,
before.
I know, but he's still so much longer than Ilya, even being, down a weight class. I don't know. Either way, kudos to Ilya. We can move on to some of the other fights because we've spent a lot of time talking about the surroundings of that. This next one probably brought, I mean, I think this is probably the happiest outcome for you, was it not?
I mean, yeah. Like, obviously I don't like seeing Paulo lose, but he looked good.
He looked incredible.
He looked really good.
Through some spinny shit.
Yeah. Like that spinning kick that landed clean on Rob Whitaker would have knocked out 95% of other fighters at middleweight, light heavy, or heavyweight.
I saw a meme where it said if Paulo Costa and another fighter, I'm not going to be able to remember who it was. It was Paulo Costa and such, if rounds were 5 minutes and 10 seconds, and it was a picture with Mighty Mouse and all of his belts. It was so good. I don't remember who the other fighter that they put in there was, but it's very true as far as that fight goes because you give him 10 more seconds, you give him just a hair bit of an extension, and Rob is out. Um, but
It's
yeah,
good to see
Rob
Rob's chin kind of you know,
survive.
survive. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not what I was expecting, especially whenever it's from a guy as powerful as Paolo is. Also, how did his leg not break?
I have no idea.
That front leg should be dust right now.
I have no idea.
I'm just personally surprised that he looked as good as he did because of how long he had been out. Obviously, the scandals, he didn't miss weight. He looked awesome on the scales. It looked awesome in the cage. The most positive negative outcome that could have came from this fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's and he didn't it wasn't anything, you know, super damaging to Paulo, you know.
No,
Like
if
he
anything, I think that raises him because I think
yeah.
expectations were super low because he wouldn't get on the scales, he wouldn't do a fight, he wouldn't, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and he fought Rob Whitaker, really tough. You could have made an argument that he did win the fight. Um, yeah, the best possible bad outcome for Paulo. And at this point, it's really just you hope that he doesn't have another long layoff like that. You hope that he can get in again against someone up there. I personally would like to see him fight Vittori again
Yeah.
because of their last fight, all the shit surrounding that. Um, but now with Rob, like, do we think about him as maybe a title challenger here soon, or
I think you probably give him one more because
like
whenever what is he? Oh, how many title shots has he lost now? It's just two, right?
he's only lost to Izzy
But he's lost Izzy
twice?
twice.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'd still give him one more because if you get two cracks at the belt and you go 0 for 2 across that stretch, like it's a hard sell for me personally. I wouldn't be upset if he gets another one soon, but I'd give him one more just because,
well, you can't give him one against Izzy is the thing. Like you got to
Right.
give it to him against Dricus, or against Dricus, I guess. I mean, I don't really know who else is in the picture right now. Like I don't know if Izzy will ever fight Dricus. Izzy is probably gonna either fight him or Alex, I
Why not
imagine,
Rob
who's
versus Sean?
Rob versus Sean, and that would set him up for one more. But if Izzy wins, you don't want to see him fight Izzy, is a problem.
Yeah, but
You
like
know?
you're probably not going to get to avoid that anyways. Like you basically have to make it a tournament, and if it's those two guys again, it's those two guys again. Like I, for one, I'm not that worried about Izzy beating Drakus because
Really?
I think I think Izzy's probably going to go up to light heavy. Like I think that's probably his next full time move.
Is just
Uh,
follow Alex.
Yeah, because I think he's going to be like, oh, he followed me for so long, and then he's going to get dusted. It's going to be over. But which is weird to say about Izzy, because when we started this podcast, if I'd have said that, you'd have kicked me off and said I can't talk on this on the show no more. But
Yeah.
um, that's just kind of the state we're at. So yeah, I would personally do. I would like to see Rob versus Sean, and winner gets next, or whatever.
Yeah, but definitely just happy to see Rob win and
Yes.
bounce back after the Dricus fight. I still refuse to believe that was like real life. I don't know. Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know.
Paulo versus Roman would also be a fun one.
Roman just lost though. You can't
I,
put him up against Roman.
yeah, but Roman, I still have fairly high hopes for Roman. So it's like because it's two dudes coming off losses to decent opponents. Like you throw them back in there and just kind of see who picks it up. You could do Imavov.
I was
Fight
gonna
doesn't
say
really.
I'd like to see Paulo fight Imavov more than I'd like to see him fight Roman.
You know what I don't want to see? Paulo versus Brendan because Brendan's 7.
Yeah, Brendan is I don't want any fighter I like to fight Brendan Allen.
I know it's not the prize that he deserves for taking and winning his fight. Robert versus Brendan would feed families.
No, it wouldn't, dude. I could not watch that.
Oh, I could.
I could
That's
not
I
watch
mean
that.
that's Ilia versus Max for me. Like I'm or not Max, Volk. I'd be happy with both outcomes. More happy with Brendan, I think, because I'm I'm at the point I do like Rob, but I'm kind of past the point of caring. Like as bad as it sounds, like he's 0 for 2 in his last 2 bell shots. He's past the age that you want him at. We've seen him around for a while. Like I would rather see Brendan win that fight because at least if he beats Rob, he could, in theory, be the next middleweight challenger.
This just feels like the small window where Rob Whitaker could recapture UFC gold.
Yeah,
And I like it. I need to see it happen expeditiously. Like it needs to happen soon.
spell that one for me. I'm not gonna make you do that.
No.
I'm just kidding.
I can't spell. I can't spell. I can't do
Yeah,
math, but I can't spell.
yes. English, well, expeditiously, I think that'd give anybody problems.
Yeah.
You know what else gave? I'm not going to even attempt that transition because it was about to go to Nowheresville pretty quick. Ian Gary did not impress me this weekend. It that was not the performance that I expected out of him. Once it was time for the scorecards, I just didn't care who won. It was
Yeah.
that kind of fight where it's just like, not only was I bored, but I do not care about the outcome.
Well, you also know now that yeah, Ian Gary won the fight by a split decision. You know he's not gonna. You know he's not one of the best in the welterweight division.
Not as
He's
of
not
now,
gonna
at
beat
least.
the Shavkats.
No.
He's not gonna beat the Leons. He's not gonna beat the Bilals.
Mm-mm.
Bilal, I think, would smoke him. To be honest,
Yeah. No, I agree.
like
Um,
he's just not. He's not who we thought he was.
Yeah, let me look and see who I'd like for him next. Sean Brady. I'd
Yeah,
I'd be
I
in on
mean,
that. But I
I
think
don't know.
Sean would
I don't really
win.
care. I don't care. I don't think he's that exciting.
No, no, he's definitely fallen short. I mean, his mic skills are pretty good, but like
I
at
don't
this,
even think his mic skills are good.
I think
I
he's
think
clever.
he's gone to the Colby Covington school of mic training.
Yes, but like he is clever enough to not have to do that. I don't know why he's doing that. It's probably some advice that his wife's boyfriend gave him, but it's either way, it's bad advice. And Yeah, it's hard to want to have stock. It makes me very happy that I went with Brendan Allen instead of Ian Gary in our Rising Stars because that was kind of the toss up at that point, which is very funny. But um, yeah, Jeff Neal didn't really impress me either, obviously. Just the
Like, you know what you're
opposite of
getting
what
out
you
of Jeff Neal.
right. It was just the exact opposite that either one of these guys needed from this fight.
Yeah. We just learned more about Ian Gary in that fight than we did about Jeff Neal.
Yeah,
And yeah, like congrats on the win, dude. Split decision, and you're talking like you just won the belt.
yeah.
Like, stop, please.
But
But
boring fight, so we're gonna move on.
let's talk about Merab.
Yes,
Let's
please.
talk about Merab, baby.
Now, and we don't even have to really touch on Cejudo here because we already did with the retirement.
Yeah.
The Merab, man, that was different. How many times have you seen an Olympic gold medalist get ragdolled, bulldog choked, um, carried across the octagon so he could go talk to Zuck? Which also, I know you've seen the meme a gajillion times, but it is such a good meme format. Um, uh Zuckerberg in the walking out with Volk and standing there doing his little. Have you not seen that?
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes, yes.
where he
I
tries
have.
to
I
grab the
have.
jacket to help, so he
Yeah.
like he has some purpose.
Did absolutely nothing. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, that. I saw somebody say, "This is how I act whenever I smoke weed, which is why I don't smoke weed." It was a very funny comment to me, but yeah, Marab, man, I'm just thankful that Dana has verbally confirmed that he is the next champ or challenger, but pretty much the same thing. I feel
Yes.
bad for Sean, because I
I
do
don't.
like Sean.
That dude chose to fight Cheeto Vera for his title defense. I don't feel bad for him at all.
It's a ticket move, man, and
I don't
that's the
care.
only.
I don't
And
care.
it's
That is so soft. That is
he
so soft.
they should have done that fight before he got to the belt, but obviously hindsight's 2020. They thought he'd beat
Corey.
Corey. There you go. I was about to say Dominic, but he beat Dominic. Um, they probably should have done it before the Corey fight and, let him get his redemption for the loss. But I understand it from a storyline perspective. And once the storyline's over, his belt run is too, because Merab waiting on the other side for him, unless he just vehemently turns it down and they make Merab do the interim bullcrap and, sing and dance for the company, basically, he's going to be undisputed. And unless Ilia, falls anytime soon, he's going to be independently reigning over bantamweight for God knows how long.
Yeah, that's how I feel too, and especially for one of the most stacked divisions in the sport. Like the way Merab has just ran through the bet, like you said, the best of the best. And you look at what Merab did to Henry and what Aljo did to Henry. Like you could have made an argument that Henry beat Aljo. That Merab fight was as decisive as it gets.
Yeah.
Like no doubt about it.
Yeah, you can't make any kind of argument. Sorry, I had to check. So I take that back as far as being for sure that Merab will reign for years and years to come. I'll give him 2 years.
Because Umar exists.
And he's 33 years old. And like that is now like an actual thing that I have to check. Because like if you don't get there, I mean, which is horrifying because that means we get what 8 years of Ilya, which is not a comforting feeling. But yeah, Merab is at least going to be a champion for a year and a half, and he'll just look every bit the demon that he is. Because golly, dude, that fight was embarrassing for Cejudo.
Yes. But like I feel like you can't even it says less again, it says less about Cejudo than it says more about Merab, you know?
Right.
Like Merab is just that good.
Right. Cejudo didn't just wake up and forget how to wrestle. He's still the same guy that we saw against Aljo, that we saw as Triple C. But Merab is just, I mean, I don't know how anybody gets as good at one specific thing as Merab is as good at wrestling.
That's
I don't
spamming
know how
two
that's
counts.
yeah, I don't know how it's humanly possible.
Did you see the thing of someone said Merab like sparred 3 5-minute rounds with Aljo like in the back before he went out there?
Yeah, that
I
was
don't know if that's true.
no way.
I believe it for like maybe one 5-minute round. because he is like a little insane.
I feel
Three
like it was.
seems like a lot.
I feel like it was probably like a 2 minute, 3 minute grappling sesh to like get loose, and Ali Abdelaziz busted out some leak press and
Is that
bumped
who
those numbers
represents
up.
him?
No, I have no idea. It's
Oh,
just
I was gonna say I would be disappointed if Ali represented Merab. That would make me like him a little less.
no,
But
he's just a con man, and I'm sure he was in the locker rooms.
yeah,
Just the type to leak that kind of info. Um,
yeah.
just to hype up for no reason. But yeah, Merab officially on his way up. We don't have to spend too much time on these last two, but all the credit in the world to Fluffy Hernandez, man. That was big.
Yeah, we were wrong.
Yeah.
We were super wrong.
Yeah. He got in there and there was a handful of times where I was like, oh, Kopulov's going to sleep. No, he's out. Oh, here he goes going
Yeah.
to sleep. Oh, wait, no, he's back. Oh, here it comes. And then finally it did land. Um, now kudos to Kopulov for surviving and thriving for as long as he did. But that was tenacious, man. That was relentless what Hernandez put on him.
Well, guy you mentioned earlier in Brennan Allen, that would be a pretty fun grappling showcase.
Boo. Give Brendan vets. I don't want him moving backwards in the rankings. He's too young and up and coming for all that. It would be fun if one of them gets to the belt or like it becomes like an eliminator or whatever, but they're not at that point yet. So let's push that one down the road a little bit.
I guess. I don't know. I think that would be pretty high level right
It,
there.
it would be a tremendous fight, but I don't want to see it yet until it has some real
Yeah.
stakes, is the point I'm making.
Well, you have other interests
I do.
at play, so
I do.
I can understand that.
Well, Brendan's the best looking prospect in that division right now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
probably.
because the guys above him are Paolo, Marvin, Cannonier, Whitaker, Izzy, and Sean.
All old.
Right. And then below him, you've got Imavov, Dolidze, Hermanson, Hamzat. Like Kaio and Fluffy are the closest to.
Imavov, I think.
Dude, he didn't do a whole lot for me. Like, I know he's good, but like,
What he did to Roman was pretty impressive.
it was impressive. Something about it just doesn't really, I don't know. Like, I can't ever envision myself being like jacked up that the Imavov fights this weekend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like he just
that's
doesn't
fair.
he doesn't
Fair.
shift that he doesn't shift that for me. Brendan Allen does. And that's
Yeah.
removed from Rising Stars. Like he's just an awesome fighter to watch. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. He's
And then
he's
this
very good.
last one, Blamos got in with those strikes. Obviously the thing about the fight is not is something that was totally fight removed that everybody's talking about. I'm sure that made its way well onto your Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your feed is probably exclusively that.
You know, no comment.
No comment. No comment.
No
Well, I mean,
comment.
obviously it made it to mine too, but um, yeah. But either way, Dern started to come on late. I wonder what this would have looked like as a 5 rounder. I'm not saying it needed 5 rounds, but it was encouraging to at least see that round three kind of surge for Dern. Made it a little bit more balanced, but obviously, what Lemos did in those first two, you couldn't take it away from her.
Yeah, and I mean, it was clear that anytime, even when they were in the clinch, like Dern had the upper hand,
Yeah.
and anytime she was able to grab a hold of her, she was able to find success. But yeah, it was just striking. She's so bad at striking that's why she lost the fight.
Yeah. And then she had her Johnny Walker moment.
Yeah, she did. She did have her Johnny Walker moment. Yeah,
I saw a side by side comparison on Twitter. That's the only reason I thought of that was because it was both of them playing and
yeah.
because they just look so goofy. Um,
Uh,
all right, you
yeah,
want to
that's
jump into
funny.
these predictions?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We've only got two fights from this card, but now granted, two very important fights. The high value. Now, also shout out Rojas Jr. He's going to be fighting on this card. I don't even remember who his opponent is. But he will be there if you're still trying to keep track of the 19-year-old now, or is he
Yeah, I
20?
think he's 19.
I bet say I didn't think he was up to 20 yet, but I know he's probably still not 18 because he's been around for a little over a year, I think. But the first fight we start with, the returning Brian Ortega hadn't been in the octagon in a year and a half versus the guy we last saw him against whenever he got that shoulder injury, Yair Rodriguez. Um, quick, this one wasn't too hard for me, so I'll rattle through it pretty quick. Yair, his ability to strike, his activity, his ability to hang in there on the ground, it all just kind of feels pretty comfortably Yair to me. They should have given T City a lower strength opponent to ease his way back into the octagon, in my opinion, and then give him the rematch against Yair.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I see people complaining about Brian Ortega holding his ranking at featherweight
Yeah.
after not winning. I saw that Habib
Hmm.
has a more recent win than Brian Ortega does. So it's time for him to defend that ranking.
Yeah.
However, I don't think that's going to happen either. I really like Yair. Um, and yeah, just a lot of time off, not a lot of winning, not a lot of activity for Brian Ortega since, 2019, 2020. Um, and Yair is, like you said, very creative, very talented, is able to have success on the ground, even though I wouldn't recommend doing that against Brian
No.
Ortega. But
It's
if he
it's
wants to, I'm sure he could hold up. I just don't know if that's going to win him the fight.
it'll work great for defense, to ward it off. It's not an offensive tactic in this fight.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, in agreement there on Yair. I think the main event though, we're probably going to be in agreement as well, right? Or no?
Yeah, I can give you 10 seconds worth of talking here. Brandon Moreno is at worst 1B in flyweight. At worst. And I'll tell you a little secret. Brandon Roybal is not 1A. I like Brandon. Roybal. I like Roybal a lot. A very entertaining dude. Enjoy watching him fight. It's going to be a very fun fight to watch. That said, I just don't think anybody else besides the current champion is in that Moreno caliber. And I expect him to go out here and pretty much just cause issues for flyweight because flyweight does not want Moreno to win this fight because he's lost a couple times now to Pantoja. But Brandon Moreno don't care about that. He wants that belt back, and I think he goes out here maybe with a finish.
Oh yeah, we got the god of Lego here, baby.
Yeah,
Let's go. Let's go. And I like Brandon Royval too.
yeah,
But it's as simple as, you can look at how each of them held up against Pantoja. Moreno, fight of the year candidate, went to absolute battle, and Royval looked like he didn't belong in there,
yeah.
which he didn't. I didn't think he belonged in there.
No,
Um, so yeah, I think Royval is super entertaining, and anytime he fights one of the guys who aren't the 1A and 1B, like you said, he has a chance to win. But at some point, his kind of reckless fighting style catches up to him against guys who are good enough to expose it.
right. Dude's that elite. You can't go in there that wild, and because they'll sit you down. No matter how they do it. So yeah, these are not hard fights for us to predict, but you best believe you need to be watching because they're going to be really good fights.
100%. Anytime Brandon Moreno fights, you want to see him.
Yeah, and Yair for that matter.
Yes, yeah, absolutely right. But the
Those
rest of
are
the card kind of sucks. But at
yes.
least we got those two to cap it off. That'll be nice.
What time does that card start?
I think it starts normal time, right?
Uh, so yeah, it starts at 10. Damn. That's so unfortunate, dude.
I'm still
Especially,
rocking the 8 p.m. main card starts, which is actually pretty nice. Don't
I was
have to
about to
wait all
say,
day.
in the mountains, it's awesome. But
It's
out
yeah,
here, I'm gonna be up till probably 1.
one.
Yeah, waiting to watch. Yeah, like this last card, it wasn't over until like 1:15. I was like, you just get dragged into the center of the earth. But until then, Alex, where can they find us?
YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's Jackson TM on Twitter. Alex Eisman KGWN on Twitter. We'll be back again next week to talk about these fights that have happened. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. We'll see.